What's up guys, what's good, how are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I am back today with another Broadway review, another show that I saw. I actually saw this, I can't say my words. Before I get into this video, be sure to follow me on social media, which I will post down below. It's probably going to be like somewhere like here. And do that, because that's the best way to keep up to date with what I'm doing on my day-to-day business, because my life is super interesting, lol JK. As I said, today I'm going to be reviewing a musical which I saw maybe like 2 weeks ago or so, which is this bad boy, Frozen. I did a video reacting to the cast album, which I'll like put down below, so if anyone wants to see it, you can check that out, because it makes sense. Basically, I was like super excited to see the show. I was never a big fan of the movie, like full disclosure, I was never a big fan of the movie. I was more of a Tangled kind of gal, I prefer Tangled. But absolutely no brainer that Disney were going to make a Broadway musical out of Frozen, and then I started kind of following the process of it and I got really into it. Then they announced the creative team, then they had another creative team come into it, then they announced the cast, and I loved the cast, and then yada yada. So anyways, I was super excited going into this show. I love the score for this show, and I've always said, not always said, but since they've released the cast album, I have honestly thought that the cast album, the shows they wrote for the new musical, are better than the ones for the movie, but that's something we'll talk about in a minute. Straight up, Frozen on Broadway. I loved it. Honestly, I loved it. I loved the direction it took the show. I love how they kind of changed it from arguably, well, it's a kids movie, and they made it a lot more realistic, a little bit darker, a little bit more grounded, like slightly less animated, obviously. And what I mean by that is, like, let's say for example the trolls. There's no trolls in the musical. They've turned them into these like what are they called? They're called hidden people, and it just works better. And it's slightly more realistic. I know we live in a world where they live in a world where it's magic and, you know, Elsa's got superpowers, like, but it works better with the hidden folk. So that kind of aspect, I loved how the entire show was kind of in blues and dark colors. It wasn't particularly bright, excluding the number in summer. There's nothing really I could fault about the show. I truly loved all aspects of the show. As I was saying, the score is fantastic. I think some of the songs they wrote for the musical, I think they're better than the ones they wrote for the movie, if I'm honest. And the ones they wrote for the movie, for example, Let It Go, they have added a lot more orchestrations to it, which works perfectly. And for the first time in forever, they've made the song longer, they've changed a couple of lyrics. But then some of the songs they wrote for the musical are just fantastic. Like True Love, I think, is probably my favorite song from the show. Patty Murren sings it, and the song itself is beautiful. Colder by the Minute is another fantastic number. Monster, sung by Casey Levy, is just fantastic, and it's another number for Elsa to like sing across everyone. It's just the music is arguably probably one of the best parts of this musical and this production. Like, it's just so good. The staging and the lighting is brilliant. The staging is a funny one for me. The set. So first off, the costumes are glorious. They're fantastic. End of story. Nothing else to say there. They're beautiful to look at. They work perfectly. Elsa has freaking suit pants. Like, she doesn't run around in a dress in second act. She has suit pants and she's got boots. And it's so fantastic, and it got me giddy when she came on stage. And then the set design is just brilliant. And again, as I was saying, like, I love how they made the show quite dark. It's not bright and colorful. It's dark blues. It's just, it bothers me. The one quip I have is that they were totally overlooked at the Tony Awards. They were totally overlooked. That show, hands down, should have been nominated for Best Set Design. I'm sorry, but it should have been. I don't know how it wasn't. Probably because it was Disney and they weren't going to give the nomination, but it totally deserved the nomination for set design. The story is good. Obviously, they've slightly changed the story, not overly changed the story. It's still really the same outline as the movie. Funnily though, the first act is quite short. I think when I saw the show, the first act was just like on the button 1 hour long. But creatively, it made, obviously the first act has to end with Let It Go. and they couldn't, you know, they padded the first act, not overly where it was redundant what they were doing, but they padded the first act to the point where they could elongate the first act so that Let It Go could be the end of Act 1, and Let It Go at the end of Act 1, it was the only way the show could have ended, the first act could have ended. But as good as the first act is, because it has stuff like songs like For the First Time in Forever, it has also Let It Go in it, as good as the first act is with the fantastic numbers it has, the second act for me I think just far exceeds the first act. And the second act is probably, or no, the second act is definitely the most like unfamiliar territory, because so much happens in the first act from the movie that the second act, a lot of it is new. There's a lot of new numbers and there's a lot of new stuff happening, new dialogue. But it's just so good. It's really such a strong second act. The casting is like a funny one for me, and what I mean by funny one is I love, for example, Betsy Wolfe was casted initially as Elsa, and then Betsy Wolfe left the production, and then they brought in Casey Levy, who I also love. But I was upset when Betsy Wolfe left the production, but then I saw Casey and she blew my mind. This girl can sing for days. She is just fantastic. Then we've got Patty Murran as Anna, who I said, if anyone's seen my previous video reacting to the cast album, I said, don't know how I feel about her. And I really meant that. I didn't understand how she was taking the role of Anna. But when you see her on stage, the entire role makes so much sense. This is one of the greatest surprises for me for the show, is that when I saw Patty Murran as Anna, it all made sense. She was the perfect Anna. The way her creative decision as an actress, the little jokes she made, her demeanor, she walked on stage, the way she carried the character, it's such a strong cast. And Jelani Aladdin as Kristoff is fantastic. You've also got, is it John Riddle? John Riddle as Hans. It's just, I really, really think this cast is super, super good. You gotta see this cast. Overall, I had a fantastic time at Frozen. I would 100% go back to see it again. I know the show is selling really, really well, which I think is it's just so just for the show, because there's so much work being put into this production, and you know, it's not the movie. It's by no means the movie. They really have taken the movie and elongated, and they had to elongate. I think the movie is, what, give or take 90 minutes or so. This is now 2.5 hour production, so they added the guts of an hour to this musical, but it works, and there's so much stagecraft in the show, the way they do the ice on stage, the proscenium arch, and they've really utilized the theatre to the best of its ability. The St. James is a really beautiful theatre. And obviously the St. James was renovated after Something Rotten closed. They shut the theatre and they wanted to renovate it again. And it just looks beautiful right now. All I can say is, if you had any doubts about going to see the show, just don't listen to what other people are saying. I found often that people, friends of mine who've loved productions, they've loved, I've sometimes disliked or not loved. And then productions I've loved, they've sometimes liked or they've sometimes disliked. And that's the thing with theatre. Theatre is so subjective. Like, just because you or your friend like or dislike something doesn't mean you're going to feel the exact same way about it. So if you have any doubts about this production, just go see it. And if you don't like it, that's cool. But I'm telling you, I loved this production. I loved everything about this production. I thought the work, it's clear as day the amount of work that's been put into this production. And it's really a beautiful show that deserves its place on Broadway. And if I'm being totally honest, I think it's the best Disney musical on Broadway right now, if not to date. I truly think it's that good. Guilty. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review. If you've seen the show, be sure to comment below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on social media. Let me know what you thought about the show. And until next time, bye.